So, today is Sunday, October 22nd, 2023. This is the 9th interview of Cheri Beale Adams. And today we're going to talk about our grandparents for a little bit. The Beales and the Greenes. And then we're going to go down the Beale line. So, now, Daddy had...
No, we're going down the Greene line.
The Greene line? Okay. So Daddy had, I don't know who his grandmother was, but his grandfather was Charles, the son of Charles Esmer Gilson, the Civil War veteran who got dumped by
Delia. Yeah.
There's only, Charles died in like 36. And I read in one of Dad's World War II letters from his father, you need to stop by and see your grandfather, old man. And that would be William Greene, who I am named after.
Yes.
Okay, so who was he? And why did he and his wife lose a leg?
Well, luckily this week I printed out sheets that help me cheat. Okay, William, also known as Willy, Bernard Greene, and I mention that only because there are cousins who one is Bernard William and this one is William Bernard, so I have no idea why, that's the way it was. And he was married to Mary Ellen Morris. We'll get into that later. That's the Moran side of the family.
So Dad's grandparents, that raised him, basically, were William Greene and his wife
Ellen Morris.
Okay, tell me about them.
Well, William was actually known as Willy, and his full name was William Bernard Greene, and I make the distinction because he has a first cousin by the name of Bernard William. I don't know if there's a significance there. I haven't found it. I haven't dug that deeply on that particular branch of the family. There's just way too much. I do have a cheat sheet, however, and thank God for the censuses. So Willy was, they actually lived in Holliston when he was young. And I think that's where I found out that either he or his father somehow, they came from Tipperary, Ireland. And that is the one and only connection I have to Ireland.
Really?
Yep. Nobody else has mentioned, they just, when they fill out their documents, they don't put what county they're from. They just, Ireland. And that was the record keepers. I mean.
So when they landed either at Ellis Island or in Boston Harbor?
Yeah. There may be records in the church files, but it's hard to get a hold of those.
Yeah.
So the Diocese of Boston may have records, and I have to join yet another group to do that, and I'll do that when I've got extra money.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's costing me a fortune with this stuff. I'd rather have groceries.
Oh, we were talking about this earlier off camera. Please explain why Boston and New York were the major ports, especially for the Irish.
Well, the Irish kind of started to trickle over shortly before the famine disaster, the genocide.
That was 1849, I believe?
1847, 48, 49. By 1850, when our folks finally said enough, and came over, there was already somebody here that they could be sponsored by. But families that were coming from Europe, anywhere in Europe, always emigrated to a place where they had family. That's the only way you could survive here.
Yeah.
You weren't coming with a pocket load of money to get started. You needed your family to help you get going, get you a job, get you a place to live. I mean, it was rough.
Well, what's interesting is that's why a lot of the breweries in Milwaukee,
Yeah.
Germans, that's where their family was. It's famous stories where they would land
Yep.
And they could get through Ellis Island probably quicker than the Irish because they didn't plan to stay
Yep.
in Boston and New York. Nope, I've got family out here and I'm going, okay, fine, here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Beale side of things, the Greene side of things, they landed, they came to Natick because they had family there. Sorry, I'm a little short of breath today. Through the censuses, I'm able to find out what they did for a living. And the Greenes were either shoemakers of some sort. They were either cutting leather or binding leather or doing something, because there were a bunch of factories. Natick was like the shoe capital. Willy was born in Holliston, and through the years, due to the censuses, it said, you know, where he lived and how he lived. So they spent a few years in Holliston, Massachusetts, and then in 1880, they were he was 15, and they were back in Natick, and he was in school at the age of 15, which was a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big thing to still be in school. So, obviously, education was very important to the family.
Yeah, usually kids would leave school after the primary grades.
Yeah.
And you're looking at...
I think they had to go until 8th grade.
No, well...
Well, no, because Nana, Jen,
yeah.
No, she dropped out in 4th grade.
No,
worked in the store.
The majority of students back then, you went, if you were lucky, you could go to 8th grade, and you were considered highly educated, because future generations, go pull up the 8th grade examination test.
Who the hell could pass that now?
A college senior couldn't.
No, I have seen those. And in fact, yeah, remind me to print one of those off, because
the math problems,
bushels,
paper and pencils.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I read that and I was like, "What is this stuff?" Because it was all like agricultural based. So yeah, consider yourselves lucky, children. All right. So meanwhile, back here, now his dad, William.
Yep.
He passed away sometime after 1889, and I just have not found a death certificate for him. There's got to be something somewhere, because, you know, but Willie was 24 at the time, and, you know, I mean, as we well know, it's a young age to lose your dad.
Oh yeah, 24 definitely.
So yeah. However, at the age of 27, he married Ellen, and I'm pretty sure, because the Irish all stuck together, it was probably an introduction. You know, one side of the Greenes knew the Morans, and the Morans, you know, and here's a son, and there's a daughter, and, you know, off you go.
Can you do a little bit more detail on that? So, again, future generations aren't going to understand. These weren't arranged marriages.
Right.
But explain that culture at the time.
So, my supposition is, only because, you know, this is the way society works. God forbid you have a single female. The Irish stuck together, and if you were going to get married, you wanted your child to marry somebody with the same background. It just made life easier. You understood each other, the culture, you know, the way you did things.
Preferably from the same neighborhood or block.
Same religion would be handy.
Yeah.
Because back then, and I think, and I'm still trying to figure this out, I don't think the Greenes were Catholics. I think that they were like Methodists. But if either one of them was Catholic, they had to marry another Catholic. And if they did, that was a humongous problem. You mean literally had to send a letter to the Pope.
Well, Helen, our grandmother.
Yes.
Helen Beale.
Catholic.
Helen Nee Greene Beale, as they say.
Yeah.
She was a Catholic. Now,
Yes, she was.
did she convert?
No.
So that meant that
They had to get a disposition. because Beasley was Methodist.
Yeah, I know that.
Like Helen was pregnant.
Yeah.
So
So Helen was
Well,
Catholic,
kids.
but her father, William Greene, was
Protestant.
and her mother must have been Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That, like I said, I have to go back and find out what the religions were. It wasn't always stated on the censuses.
Yeah.
And I probably should add that. Anyway, so yeah, if you were an Irish kid, you stuck with your Irish people. If you were a Lithuanian kid, you stuck with your Lithuanian people. It was very important to keep your culture going. You know, it's all well and good to be a melting pot, but you don't want it to become stew. You know, you weren't going to dilute the gene pool. So that's what they did.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, Willy got married at the age of 28. I don't have. Do I have Ellen's page? I do. Ellen, how old was she? Whew. She was 16. They got married in the Catholic Church.
That's normal.
Yeah, they got married. They actually got married, and I've been to this church 100 times. They were at St. George's Catholic Church, and that was in Saxonville, which is in Framingham, Mass.,
Oh, okay.
which is where I lived for the first few years of my marriage to Aaron's father.
Now, what year did they get married?
1893.
A month or anything? Well, you see, the reason why I'm asking
Yeah.
is, when was their first child born?
I don't have that page.
Oh,
That
okay.
would be Helen. She was born in 1994.
So,
I think I did the math on that, and she was legit.
she was?
Yeah, she was legit. You gotta understand, you know, when you're living in a farm town, which is
Yeah.
it was either manufacturing or farming, you know, you didn't go to the movies, you just spent time courting, and there were a lot of barns and places.
Oh, no, I know. I'm not saying a word.
Woods.
So Helen was the oldest. Did she have any siblings?
No, she was an only.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, very unusual.
Yeah.
Very, very unusual.
Well,
And
there are a number of reasons for that. One could be medical.
Well, I mean, there's any number of reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
No.
they, yeah, because they both lived to a fairly good age. Ellen lived until 1956. Willy lived until 1945. I think, what was his cause of death? Do I have that? It's probably a heart situation.
Yeah, most likely.
Cause of death. No. I don't. I'm pretty sure it was either a stroke or a heart attack. Yeah, the cardiac issues in the family are just...
Yeah, but he was old by then. And, okay, we're getting up there in that age too. But for that time period,
Yeah,
he was in his 70s or 80s, I think.
79 when he died.
Yeah, so, you know.
Look, you gotta die something.
Yeah, I know.
Let's have a smorgasbord of
Yeah.
things.
Okay, so I'm not using the name Willie. I don't.
You have to.
No, I'm named after him, and I'm not going to be called Willie.
You need to. No, but you need it for the differentiation.
I know.
There was Willie,
Yeah.
and then there was William.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. You just have to.
Okay, so Willie Greene, and what was her name? The wife?
Ellen.
Ellen. I'm sorry. Their dad's grandparents. Now, from what Mom said, and you know, that they raised Dad, because I guess there was an issue with his mother, but they were the ones that raised Dad. And she would also say something interesting about their physical, like a better term, handicap.
Well, yeah. Back in the day, you know, you got around by horse and buggy. I'm not sure that they were... I'm not sure when, you know, cars became available to the masses in native Massachusetts.
Probably the 1920s.
So they took, you know, they had a horse and buggy, And somewhere along the way, and it wasn't unusual. I know I'm leaning down. Sorry.
That's fine.
Breathing is not good for me today. Something happened, and the cart went over, and it was a bad accident. And each one of them, Willy and Ellen, lost a leg, which wasn't unusual, I guess. Just they didn't have, obviously, the medical technology to be able to save a limb that they do now. I mean, if you've got shattered bones and
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. I used to use that in my world history class and U.S. history class to with my students, because a lot of them had great grandfathers that fought in Vietnam,
Yeah.
and to get them to understand the time frame. I'm saying, okay, I am now 62 or 61 at the time. My great grandparents each lost a leg in a horse and buggy accident. And what? I said, yeah, it's, I'm trying to so you understand that.
Technological advances.
Yeah, and so anyways.
It's like light speed.
Yeah, I know.
Well, when you think about, I mean, Jen, our Nana on my mother's side, I remember explaining to her before she passed away, and while we were still on speaking terms, what she had seen in her lifetime, and she actually saw, it was the time of Orville and his brother Wright there. They flew a plane, and by the time she died, the Concorde, which was an airplane that traveled faster than the speed of sound.
She died in 79 or 80, I think.
Somewhere.
Well, actually, she was 20 years old when the Wright brothers flew.
So
she was fully cognizant of what that would mean.
Yeah.
She saw Neil Armstrong land on the moon in '69.
Mm-hmm.
So, in her lifespan, we went from an agrarian society.
Yeah.
And in our dad's side of the family, because Willy dies in 45.
Yeah.
Eleanor dies in 50. Ellen, I'm sorry, dies 56. So they too saw us go from an agrarian society to a major world power. That is the speed of light.
It is the speed of light. It's amazing stuff.
So
Ellen and Willy were separated in 1890.
Wow.
I did not find any record of divorce, and probably because they were Catholics. And I'm going to say that, unfortunately, I'm going to say that it was probably an alcohol situation.
With William?
I would say. Or he just had a bad temper and she said no more.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, what I don't understand...
I don't know where she went, though.
What I don't understand is how Mom said, well, his grandparents raised him. Now, was it just Ellen?
Well, it was probably Big Grand, which would have been
His great-grandmother.
His grandparents. Well, you know what? That's a really good question, because I'm looking at the dates here, and they're, insofar as Willy's parents were concerned, neither one of them lived during Daddy's time.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Any trace of Ellen after they separated?
Let's see.
What I'm getting at is on the census, head of household, how many people there?
Well, I know what you're asking. I'm trying to see what I got here. In 1900, I don't have a place of residence. I'm going to have to look that up. That was dumb.
It's okay.
Well, see, I know they didn't get a divorce because she was buried at St. Patrick's. And if she was divorced
you can't,
Catholics couldn't get buried in a Catholic cemetery.
Thank God for cremation now. Just stick them on the mantelpiece.
Yeah. It says she died, I have a note here, another very generous genealogist person that we share family.
Yeah.
And she said that she died in Boston at 29 Bayard Street, but was living at 14 Grant Street in Natick, Middlesex. And then she gave me a copy of her death certificate, which I did not attach. But it does say heart disease.
Was that in like a nursing home or something where she died?
I don't know. It could have been a hospital.
Yeah, I don't think Bayard Street even exists now in Boston.
There's a lot of streets that don't exist.
Yeah.
You know, you go to Google Earth, which is an application that you can use on your computer that will bring up a whole map. It's like a bird's eye view of a city or a neighborhood or whatever. So you can see, and a lot of the streets in Boston no longer exist.
Okay, so Willie and Ellen separate in 1890.
1890.
Yet, Mom says
That can't be right.
they basically raised Dad. So was it one of these? And this is not unusual either for Catholics. You separate, you go back. You separate, you go back. Especially back then. I mean, unless it was really bad.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. We have a discrepancy, folks. Not unusual. So it says that at the age of 28, that was 1893.
Yeah.
Okay, that fits. But then it says that they... What was the separation? 1890? That doesn't fit.
No, it doesn't fit.
Before. I'll have to go back and double check that.
Yeah.
Oh, so thrilled to be able to find this glaring error.
Well, no, that can settle a lot of things.
Go back and rearrange it. But anyway,
Yeah.
the people are correct. Their place in the family tree is correct. Somehow I've managed to cluster up the dates.
It's okay.
Sue me.